Hey everybody, I'm here today to talk to you about the differences between four-wheel drive and all-wheel drive. In this video, I'll be going over the main differences between the two types of drive systems. Now, this video can easily be 15 minutes long plus, simply because there are many things that I could talk about, but I'm going to try and keep it clear, concise, and relatively short by only going over the basic differences. I'm also going to try and make it as easy to explain and easy to understand as possible. All right, let's get right to it. I'm going to start off with four-wheel drive. I'll explain each of them, then I'll summarize the differences at the end. So let's start off with four-wheel drive. Four-wheel drive vehicles are usually geared towards handling unpaved roads. That's why the majority of vehicles that feature four-wheel drive are vehicles that are sort of like thought of as off-roading vehicles, or older vehicles that were created before all-wheel drive became as popular as it is now. Now, four-wheel drive basically sends power to all four wheels equally without controlling the division of power. So if you can imagine, you have an engine that produces power. It produces horsepower and torque. That power from the engine goes to the transmission, which uses something called a transfer case, which is a component of the transmission system, to send power equally, divided equally between the front and rear axles. So what that means is that all of the wheels are going to get the same amount of power, which is great for off-roading, but it has its downsides for regular driving. So if you're off-roading, if you're in a situation where you're driving on unpaved roads, dirt roads, in rocky situations, if you're seriously off-roading, then four-wheel drive has great benefits because you're going to get power to all four wheels. That means if one wheel is not touching the ground, let's say you're in a rocky situation, your left rear wheel is on the ground, your right rear wheel is, there's nothing under it. You can still move because the power is going to your left rear wheel as well as your right rear wheel. So with that being said, in off-roading situations, it's great because you get power to all wheels, no matter what. But when you're driving, it has its downsides. Now, let's say you are just driving regularly and you're taking a turn. You're going, around a curve in the road. Now, the tires on one side of your car require a different amount of distance to be traveled than the tires on the other side of the car. Okay? For instance, if I'm making a left-hand turn, my left two tires are going to travel a different distance than my right two tires. But when you have all four tires spinning at the same rate, the same distance is being traveled, which creates for a very weird driving situation. That's why in the majority of four-wheel drive vehicles, you can turn the system on and off. You'll see in the majority of four-wheel drive vehicles, you have two-wheel drive, four-wheel drive high, and four-wheel drive low. And those are good for different situations, but basically you can turn it on and off at your own will for most vehicles. Now, with that being said, let's move on to all-wheel drive. So all-wheel drive has become popular, or I should say has become really popular recently with many modern vehicles. And that's because all-wheel drive provides better traction with regards to drivability than two-wheel drive vehicles or even four-wheel drive vehicles. So all-wheel drive is basically the best of both worlds. Now, let me break this down for you. All-wheel drive varies the amount of power to each wheel. So if you can imagine, you're driving in the snow, right? And your car is a two-wheel drive, is an all-wheel drive car, but all-wheel drive can turn on and off by itself. So you're driving in the snow and, your car senses that the two primary wheels, let's say it's front-wheel drive as its primary driving capabilities, the front wheels are spinning. Well, then all-wheel drive kicks in and your rear wheels start turning as well. So all-wheel drive is always actively being used, but it's always actively on, but it only provides power to the extra wheels when it's necessary. So basically, it's completely automated. Your car will be providing power to the two primary wheels. If it's front wheel drive, your 2 front wheels. If it's primarily rear wheel drive, your 2 rear wheels. It's going to be providing power to those 2 wheels. And then when it senses that it needs some additional traction, then the all-wheel drive is going to kick in, and it's going to provide your car with additional traction because the additional 2 wheels are going to start turning. So once again, if you're driving in the snow or in a situation where it's, it's somewhat slippery, your 2 primary, let's say it's front wheel drive as a primary drivetrain. My front wheel drive, my 2 front wheels are going to be turning. Then immediately when the vehicle senses that there's not enough traction, that they're slipping, my rear 2 wheels are also going to start turning. And like I said, it can vary the amount. It can provide different amounts of power to different wheels, which can be extremely useful. Let's say you're turning and you're sliding in the middle of a turn. It can be extremely useful for situations like that. So all-wheel drive is, in my opinion, the best of both worlds. It is 2-wheel drive, and then when it needs to be 4-wheel drive, it kicks into 4-wheel drive. And that's why it's become so popular. And it's completely automated. You don't ever have to worry about turning anything on or off. It just does the work for you. And that's basically it. I tried to keep this video as clear and concise as possible. And I tried to provide you with some of the main differences between 4-wheel drive and all-wheel drive. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Let me know what you think down below as a comment. And of course, be sure to subscribe for more great car and driving videos just like this one. And that's all I have for you today. Thanks for watching.